Hi friends, happy April, happy spring. It seems super weird for me to be saying that because I don't know if you guys can tell, but it's literally white outside my window right now because we're having a snowstorm right now. It's April and there's a blizzard going on in Toronto. But happy spring, I guess. Uh, so today I have my April Plan with Me video. And if you have been a long-time follower, you would know that seeing my face right now, me talking to the camera, is definitely a different format for these videos. Usually I just show my hands doing the video with a cute little voiceover. And the thing is, over the past few months, I've actually missed like talking to the camera. And I wanted to find a way to make these videos more kind of like engaging and something that people actually want to watch. Not saying that people don't want to watch them right now, but I think I just want to find ways to like express my creativity a little bit more and then also like broaden my horizons and what exactly I'm doing on this channel. So here we are. You're seeing me. We're gonna test it out. We're gonna see how it goes. You guys may see this, you may not. We don't know. But yeah, this is my April Plan with Me setup. So one of the first things that I dove into for this setup, because we're entering into Q2, was my spring reading list, which essentially is just all the books that I am, or I shouldn't say all, some of the books that I am thinking about reading in the next 3 months. So from April through to the end of June, books that are releasing, books that are on my radar. And like I said, this is not an extensive list. When I was pulling together my spring, like new releases that I was looking for, it was clocking in about like 24, 25 books. So this is kind of like a curated down list of that. But there's a lot that are on there that I'm really excited about. We have Carly Fortune is coming out with One Golden Summer, which I'm super excited to get and read in May. Can't Get Enough by Kennedy Ryan is also getting published. I've already read it. It is great. It may be one of my favorites. It might be tied for first in terms of favorites in the Skyland series. Catherine Center, of course, has another book coming out. And then there's just some really fun, like, thrillers and stuff like that as well that are on my radar, or continuations of series that I can't wait to get my hands on and read. I also have my spring bucket list getting set up here as well. So things that I'm really looking forward to doing in the spring. So I have like trying a new restaurant, I think might be on the list. I definitely I'm going to put down like visiting a farmer's market, um, buying myself a bouquet of flowers, like little things like that. The list is not kind of like solidified yet, which is why I don't actually write them in there. But those are just some of the things that I'm like thinking of putting down for this month. I know last year I definitely had going to see the cherry blossoms on my list because I've lived in Toronto for so long and never did. But now that I have, it feels like something that it's like I don't need to put it down again this year, if that makes sense. But it was still something that was like fun and good to see, and it really like forces me to be a little bit more cognizant of what I'm doing with my time and get me out of a rut and like trying and experiencing new things on the daily. But yeah, that's essentially my bucket list. If you have any suggestions for me, like for things I should do, let me know because I am starting to like struggle to think of things to add to the bucket list. So after that, I got into my April monthly setup, and I really struggled to figure out with what I should do as a theme for this month. Which is partly why it took me so long to even like film and do it. I just wasn't sure. I considered doing kind of like a bookstore theme. I briefly considered doing that kind of like that old school, like the library paper book-ish theme that I had a few last year, I think in September. Um, I considered florals,
Florals for spring. Groundbreaking.
but I then ended up realizing that I was really drawn to this theme that I'd previously seen and considered for my book journal. I was just kind of like, oh, you know what? How can I make this theme work for April? And there was a couple things that, which is why it is the theme for now. I needed a month that had 5 letters in it. And I needed a month that I could kind of play around with the words and like the everything else a little bit more. So we're doing a Wordle theme for April. And essentially, as you can see there, I'm just drawing it in with a lot of water-based markers. I tried doing alcohol-based, like those the Copic ones, and it just didn't work. The paper is too thin for it to like not bleed through too much. So we're using water-based markers, and I essentially just created the Wordle grid on my page. So I found 5 letter words that kind of worked really well with the month of April. So month we have bloom. I was thinking like April showers bring May flowers. Rainy again, which is perfect because a lot of the words letters in April are in the word rainy. Maybe snowy would have been better, looking out my window now. And then of course our final correct word is April. Drew a little kind of keyboard on the bottom there that has all the letters kind of like punched in and keyed in for all my guesses or what's correct and stuff like that. And I just ended up really, really liking the theme. It was super easy to set up, it was super quick, but it's something that's a little bit different than what I had previously done. And if you want to see what the original creator did, I did end up copying her spread at the back of my book for my book theme, but I will also link it, the Instagram post down below so that you guys can see what she did. Um, and then here, my camera kind of like cut out for some reason. I don't know what happened. When I tell you it was a struggle. Ronnie was on my desk. I think he hit something and I just like didn't realize the fact that my camera stopped recording for a good like 45 minutes. But essentially I just finished off the keyboard there and then went into setting up my at a glance. And for this spread, I seriously considered whether I wanted to set up an at a glance spread or not. Um, it's one of those things where I feel like I miss it when I don't have it, but then sometimes I don't use it in the months. And I opted to actually include it just because sometimes it's nice to see the entire month at a glance. It's nice to know kind of like what I want to focus on, what's coming up next month. I could refer back to it. And even in the months where I didn't use it, I actually use it. Um, so I have my at a glance here. I do have a couple of events and stuff happening through the month of April, so I knew that I could like plop them in. I did kick myself a little bit because I realized that at the top I put April in gray and I meant to include it as green, because that is like the word that I was honing in on for the month. But you know what? Mistakes happen. And nothing's perfect. And I think that's something that like I always say to people when I talk about bullet journaling. They are like, "Oh, it's always so perfect and it's so pretty." And I'm like, "I make mistakes and you just kind of have to like roll with it and keep on going and really that's just life." Um, but yeah, so that was my month at a glance. I did also include a habit tracker this month in it, and I did make it a lot bigger than my previous habit trackers. Usually, I really only focus on like 6 things a month, but this month I actually have spots for 11 items, and the reason why is because I wanted to hone in on some like spring specific things. So for this month, it's a couple things. I wanted to still have like my regular, like, am I drinking water? What days do I do like specialized skincare and stuff like that? Am I reading? But I also wanted to include things like days that I took more than 10,000 steps. I also have one for creating stuff, which is a very broad term, but I am trying to tap a little bit more into my creativity and going to try and challenge myself to create something daily or do something creative daily. And then I also set up a brain dump spread as well. Um, which is another spread that I always say that like I don't necessarily need, but when I don't have it, I miss it. And I always write a whole bunch of like little notes on it. And I know that I can like refer back to that page if needed. And like, this is where the stuff that I need is. My content planner for this month does look a little bit differently. So I actually decided to kind of separate it out into three categories of things that I really want to focus on. Instead of having that calendar that I always had where I like wrote down and put the colored dots and everything, I decided to do like video plans as its own one. So video plans is stuff for YouTube, stuff for TikTok, things like that, videos, with ideas and prepped content there as well, and just like really tracking like what day I publish stuff on, um and like stuff like that. And then I also have my Insta plan, so things for Instagram, things for um other content. And I do have to say that I love how this spread specifically really came out of me not knowing how to say content in 5 letters. Like, I, for the past few months, have always been like content planner and just kind of gone with it. But like, I could have done content plans, but that just felt kind of like eh. Um, I didn't like how I'd have to write content out and then have plans would be like the Wordle word. Um, but it kind of forced me to be like, wait a minute, like video is a 5 letter word. So is Insta for Instagram. And then you could put other as the for everything else. And I really like how it kind of like forced me to change it up. I do think it's super easy to get into this rut of things that work when you are doing something. And I think my content planner was kind of getting that way. It was the same thing that I was like churning out month after month uh in my journal. So the Wordle theme forced me to try something new, which I am like so appreciative of. And then I essentially just got into my weeklies. So you guys may have noticed that I actually did not do a memory spread for this setup. Um, it's partly because I realized that I actually haven't been using it that much. I really used it in January. I used it a little bit in February, but then kind of like March, I just kind of fell off. It didn't happen. It felt like a chore to do and a chore to fill out. So, not saying it's not going to come back, but I chose to skip it for April. I always have room at the end of my setup if needed that I could like tack it in as its own separate page, which I think I might actually shift towards doing that with the memory page instead of putting it like in the middle of the spread. As fun as that is, it might be like a end of month thing that I do. But yeah, I just kind of skipped over it for this setup and went right into the weeklies. Still keeping with that Wordle theme, kept it really simple, did a setup that I've done before. I have tasks, April notes, all that fun stuff, and essentially like everything that I need could be on this page, keeping it really, really simple for this month. Yeah, and then after that, I got into my book page. So I as I've mentioned, I've started including books that I read into my regular bullet journal. And this spread was actually is a direct copy of the spread that I saw. So that inspired this entire setup. So we have month of April spent in pages and books. The original, I'll have the image here for you guys, but the original was just like months spent in pages and books, but I wanted to tie April back into that for my spread. I have the total number of pages and hours listened that I'm going to include, a section for faves of the month, and then on starting on that right hand side of the page, books read. So it's going to be all falling there, or and then on the subsequent pages if needed as well. So that is my April setup. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here. And if you loved this video, please hit subscribe and follow along. I do post monthly bullet journal content. I chat about the supplies that I'm using, things that I'm loving, and things happening in the stationery community in and around Toronto and the world. Until next time, I will see you later. Have a great day. Oh, And let me know, do you like this format? Do you like seeing this kind of like talking to you about what I'm doing instead of just the voiceover? Let me know in the comments below. Until next time, I'll chat with you later. Bye.